please raise your right hand. You affirm the testimony you're about to give before this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. All of the nominees answered in the affirmative, which spares us trying to figure out if they refused what to do with them. We'll move forward from this point, and I believe the first person on the second panel is Judge Ballou. Judge, please proceed with 5 minutes.
Thank you and good morning. Chairman Durbin, Ranking Member Grassley, thank you for convening this hearing to consider my nomination and that of my distinguished colleagues here on this panel. I also want to thank Senators Warner and Kaine for recommending me to President Biden and for his nomination of me to this position. It is indeed my highest honor to be considered to fill the seat of Judge Jim Jones, who has been a faithless and tireless servant for the people of Southwest Virginia. I'm joined today by my wife, Beth, of 27 years. She is my best friend and my confidant, and the person I look to for quiet strength when needed. Beth is a nurse by trade, but a mother to the core. Our proudest achievement has been our 3 children. Through them, Beth's heart beats, her soul lives, and her innate goodness shines. Our twin sons have graduated from college and are pursuing their careers, and our daughter is in her 2nd year of college. With me as well are my brothers. Wade, who actually could not be here today, is legislative counsel for the House of Representatives, and my other brother, Eric, who practices law in Richmond. Also joining me, our best parents, Bill and Janice Stout, who have been a constant support and foundation for our family. Finally, my current law clerks are with me. Their intellect and wise counsel of all my law clerks through the years have been invaluable to me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Missing today are my sister, who passed away 7 years ago, and my parents, who passed away 19 and 20 years ago. My father was the only one of 7 children to attend college. He was one of 5 brothers who served in the Pacific during the war, and he later served for 17 years as a state trial court judge. He sat in service to the litigants who appeared before him. He upheld and promoted the rule of law. He required productive and civil discourse and instilled respect for the judicial process. I have embraced these principles as a magistrate judge, and they will remain my guideposts if confirmed as a district judge. Chairman Durbin, thank you for your consideration. I look forward to our continued conversation.
Thank you very much. Judge Edelman.
Good morning, Chairman Durbin, Ranking Member Grassley, and the other members of the committee. I am honored to appear before you this morning as a nominee to the very court on which I began my career as a law clerk some 28 years ago. I want to start by introducing my family, who's here with me today, my wife, Marisa Nightingale, and our 2 sons. They truly are the inspiration for all that I do, and I cannot imagine that I would have been able to take this step without their patience, their love, and their support. My mother, Dr. Sybil Mitchell, and stepfather, Lewis Mitchell, could not join us in Washington today, but are tuning in from Naples, Florida. We are also joined virtually by much of my extended family, including my sisters Allison Zimbalist and Michelle Edelman and their families, my sister-in-law Elizabeth Nightingale and her family, and my mother and father-in-law, Dr. Stuart Nightingale and Dr. Elena Nightingale. I also want to acknowledge the many friends, colleagues, and former students who have tuned in from around the country. In particular, I'd like to thank my dedicated colleagues on the Superior Court for the District of Columbia and the very many brilliant and energetic law clerks who have helped turn my chambers into a second home for the past 12 years. I would like to thank President Biden for the honor of this nomination and Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton and her Law Enforcement Nominating Commission for recommending me to the President. Finally, I would like to express my deep appreciation to the committee staff for the hard work that you all have put in to make this hearing possible. As I sit here today, I'm also reminded of those who are not able to be here. My father, Dr. Alan Edelman, passed away in 1996 and would have been thrilled to see me get the same type of satisfaction out of my career that he got from his. And Judge William B. Bryant, the judge for whom I clerked, would be tickled to see me nominated for the court he served and very deeply loved, and to sit in the courthouse that now bears his name. When I came before the Senate for a hearing on my Superior Court nomination, I said that I hoped to be remembered as Judge Bryant is, as a judge who treated litigants fairly and with dignity, and his role with humility. There will never be another Judge Bryant, but I still work towards the example he set every day, and I will continue to do so if I'm fortunate enough to be confirmed. Thank you again for considering my nomination, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you very much. Ms. Evanson?
Chair Durbin, Ranking Member Grassley, members of the committee, thank you for convening this hearing today. I am truly thrilled to be here. I want to thank President Biden for the extraordinary honor of this nomination. I also want to thank Senator Murray for the kind introduction, and thank her, Senator Cantwell, and Washington's Bipartisan Judicial Selection Commission for recommending me to serve as a district judge. With me today are my parents, Kelly and Cindy, who spent the bulk of their careers as public school educators and administrators, and taught their 5 children the importance of serving the community with integrity and with joy. Also with me today is my husband, Aaron, who has been my best friend for nearly 30 years, who is a decorated Navy veteran and public servant in his own right, and an extraordinary dad to our 3 kids, who are also here. Aaron, I would not be here today without your unwavering love and true partnership. To our kids, you are the funniest, kindest, and most creative people I know. Thank you for making our family a team. I am so proud of you. Also here today is my dear friend Addie Schmidt, who has been a mentor and confidant for years. At home, I want to thank my wonderful brothers and sisters, their spouses and kids, my mother-in-law, Karen, and Aaron's entire family, my Aunt Marion, the many friends tuning into this hearing early in the morning in Seattle and across the country, and especially my colleagues at Pacifica Law Group, many of whom I have practiced with my entire career. Your mentorship, support, integrity, and commitment to excellent lawyering have made today possible. I would also like to thank Judge Emmett Sullivan, for whom I clerked, whose commitment to the fair administration of justice is an inspiration. Finally, I want to thank the judges of the Western District of Washington for their example, collegiality, and warm welcome, and especially Judge Ricardo Martinez, whose seat I am so humbled to be nominated to fill. I look forward to the committee's questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Evanson. Before recognizing the next nominee to speak, I would like to tell him that there is an ongoing controversy among staff and others on the proper pronunciation of your name. So before giving you the opportunity to speak, would you advise us?
Chair Durbin, thank you for that opportunity. It's me, Joun.
Joun.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Judge Joun, you may proceed.
Thank you. Chair Durbin, Ranking Member Grassley, I thank you for convening this hearing. And to the members of this committee, I thank you for your time and consideration of my nomination. I also want to thank Senators Markey and Warren for their recommendation and support during this process, and for their wonderful and generous introduction of me today. And of course, I am deeply grateful to President Biden for the honor of this nomination. I am proud to introduce my family and friends and colleagues behind me. My wife, Sue, has been the source of my strength for 32 years, my best friend in life, and the greatest mom to our 2 boys, who are very disappointed, by the way, that they could not be here today. But I am very proud of both boys, who are emerging as good, decent, and hardworking men. My former boss and mentor, my good friend, Attorney Howard Friedman, is here, who taught me that reputation is everything in this career. Work hard, treat everyone with respect, and listen to a few Bob Dylan songs. Chief Court Officer Tony Lopes is here, who continues to look after me even after his retirement, as well as Judges Lisa Grant and David Breen, who are here, and to the other judges in the BMC family who are watching from home, who inspire me to do and be better. I would like to mention 2 people who are dear to me and is here in spirit. The first is my best friend in the BMC, Paul McManus, a brilliant jurist, a devoted father and husband who passed away much too young. The other is my mother, who raised the three of us. And our mom taught us the importance of hard work and perseverance, but also hope and optimism. She worked 15 hours a day sewing these shirt collars. Whenever we tried to help her, she would chase us away, telling us that we needed to study so that one day we would all have jobs wearing shirt collars like these. She passed away on Thanksgiving morning 3 years ago. I miss her terribly and wish that she was here with me today. But the greatest joy is the memory of her fixing my tie around my collar the day I was sworn in as a state court judge 8 years ago. Finally, as someone who did not think college was within my reach, I would be remiss not to mention teachers like Rosella Clyde, Marcia Gottlieb, Toby Moore, and Morty Jamasek, who saw something in me that I myself didn't see in me, who urged me to go further, think the impossible, do the improbable, and I am forever grateful. So thank you for this opportunity, Senators, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Judge Joun. Judge Lawless.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Durbin and Ranking Member Grassley, for convening the hearing today, and to the esteemed members of the committee for considering my nomination. I want to begin by extending my sincere gratitude to President Biden for the honor of this nomination and the confidence he has placed in me to potentially follow the distinguished Judge Sue Myerscough. Thank you to Chair Durbin and Senator Duckworth for your commitment and service to the citizens of Illinois and your support of my nomination. Chair Durbin, I appreciate your generous and thoughtful introduction. With me today are my parents, Pat Dame Schuster and Burke Schuster. They taught me what it means to work hard, love hard, serve others, and to find laughter in even the most difficult situations. Their strength in overcoming obstacles and finding the best in people inspires me each day. My older brother, Burke Schuster, is here from Joliet, Illinois, where he is a fireman, public servant, and loving husband and father. He has always challenged me to be at my best and encouraged me throughout every chapter of my life. My mother-in-law, Karen Lawless, she is here as well. She has provided endless support over the years, and I thank her for her unconditional love of our girls. I know that Dave, my late father-in-law, would have been extremely proud today and enjoyed every second of this process. I am also joined by my husband and best friend, Ryan Lawless, and our amazing 2 daughters. Ryan's consistent honesty, strength of character, and unwavering support of me throughout my career is the reason I'm able to sit here today. And to our daughters, you are my greatest inspiration and the loves of my life. I am so incredibly proud of who you are now and what I know you will become. To my friends, family members, mentors, and judicial colleagues who are watching from home, I am humbled and grateful for your friendship throughout this process. To the senators, thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you, Judge Lawless. This job on the Judiciary Committee calls for us to review the qualifications of many nominees. I would guess in the time that I've served on this committee, it might have reached thousands by now. I can't tell. I can't remember directly. And in just a few moments that we have, 5 minutes, we try to think of some question that is meaningful when it comes to making this judgment, because this is a lifetime appointment. Once you become a federal judge, you're expected to be that for the rest of your natural life. Most women and men are. And so what are we looking for? Well, what am I looking for, I think, is even more appropriate. Qualifications. Well, I already can check those boxes because the American Bar Association has investigated each and every one of you and asked a lot of people that you've worked with and lived nearby what you're like and whether you're qualified to be a judge. And each one of you has been judged qualified or substantially well qualified or well qualified. So let's check that box. The next question is one that we can't really answer here except by looking at your past. Are you an honest person? Well, I certainly believe all of you are, and you've proven that with your professional and personal lives after investigation and such to be an honest person. I guess the next question is, would you be fair? Do you come to this job with any prejudice against any group or person that would disqualify you from serving on the bench? And then there's the last question that I always ask, and I'll give you an illustration of why I ask it, because Judge Lawless is aspiring to a court where I actually practiced as an attorney for a number of years, the Central District of Illinois, where I had my first solo jury trial before Judge Harlington Wood over 40 years ago. I was representing the Springfield Bus Company, it's called the Springfield Mass Transit District, suing an insurance company, Liberty Mutual Insurance Company, then represented by Walt Simhauser. I was as nervous as you could be with your first solo jury trial in a federal courtroom. It's a big, imposing, beautiful courtroom. And I thought that I did a pretty decent job of it, presenting my case before the judge and the jury. And at one point I stood up and I said, "At this point, Your Honor, the plaintiff rests." And instead of responding, the judge hesitated for a moment and said, "Will the attorneys please approach the bench?" You never want to hear that when you don't know why he's saying it. So I walked up there with Judge Wood and Walt Simhauser, the opposing attorney, and Judge Wood leaned over and made note of the fact that I had made a rookie mistake. I had rested before I had moved for the admission of my evidence, which you kind of like to do in a case, the testimony and the documentary evidence. And so I said, "Can I still make that motion?" He said, "Of course you can." And I made the motion, went back to the table and made the motion and proceeded with the trial. That judge spared me an embarrassment by calling people forward to the bench. And the opposing attorney told me later that I can't use his exact words, but if I had been a different kind of guy, he wouldn't have gone along with it. So it was an important lesson to me of the conduct of judges that is primarily extrajudicial, how you treat people in the courtroom, whether they have an attorney or not, how you treat the people in the audience, the jury, other attorneys, really makes a difference in terms of respect for the law and respect for our courts. So I would like to ask you just a generalized question, and I already know the answers, about your thoughts about that kind of demeanor and that kind of deportment by judges. And let's start with Judge Lawless.
Thank you for the question, Senator. As a trial court judge over the past almost 4 years, I've had the opportunity to run a courtroom. And when I do that, I set the expectations for the courtroom. And when people walk in, they know that they're going to be treated with patience, that we're going to have an element of humility and civility with each other. And I ensure that individuals that appear in front of me understand that I acknowledge the importance of their case and their opportunity to be heard. I try very hard in my cases to explain the process to them so they understand that I will determine their case in a fair and impartial manner. Thank you.
Thanks. Judge Joun?
Thank you, Chair Durbin. I was smiling a little bit when you were sharing that story because I think we all had that experience as a young lawyer. And when I became a judge 8 years ago, it brought to mind those experiences, those memories of being treated with respect as a very young lawyer. So whoever appears before me, it doesn't matter whether they're highly experienced attorneys or right out of law school or pro se litigants, I want to make sure that they all know that if they appear before me, they will be treated with equal respect and that they will be treated equally under the law.
Thank you. Ms. Evanson?
Thank you, Chair Durbin. As the only non-judge on this esteemed panel, I can speak only to my experience as a lawyer appearing before judges similar to the judge that you described. And I can say that I've had the privilege of appearing before many judges with the sort of temperament and grace, humility, kindness, and the recognition that we're all humans in this together. Those are the qualities that I would hope to bring to my courtroom to ensure that young lawyers can have the same experience that I've had and that you've had. Thank you.
Thank you. Judge Edelman?
Thank you, Senator. People sometimes ask whether if I'm in a trial, whether it's a big trial or a little trial, and I really dislike that view that some cases are bigger than others because I come to this recognizing that all of the cases that come to court, all the people that come to court, this is a really important moment in their lives, and their case is extremely important to them. I think the most important responsibility of a trial court judge is to turn down the temperature in the courtroom. I think when you do that, you're showing everyone how much you care about their case. You're showing them that you respect them, and that as a result, they will respect the result of the case. And I think that's also, in terms of process, the way to get the best results, not by the huffery and puffery that sometimes occurs in litigation, but by everyone calmly considering the facts and the evidence to reach the right answer.
Thank you. Judge Ballou?
Thank you, Senator. I cannot endorse anymore everything that my fellow panelists have said, other than to add this. It's the role of a judge, that where possible, to make sure that all the facts come before the fact finder, so that the facts and the law decide the case and not something that's outside of the facts and the law. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Blackburn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations to each of you on your nomination. And I've noted today that we have had several younger children in the audience with us, and I think that each of you deserve extra dessert of your choice at lunch. You have earned it. You all have been stellar in your behavior. Absolutely wonderful. Judge Edelman, I want to come to you. In 2020, in your role as a D.C. Superior Court judge, you released a man named Christian Wingfield. You remember that?
I do remember that case, yes.
Okay. Now, he was pending trial in a felony gun case, but you went ahead and released him, correct?
Correct, I did.
Okay. And a few weeks after you released him, Mr. Wingfield participated in the murder of an 11-year-old child named Devon McNeil. You recall that?
I do recall that.
Okay. Devon was at a Stop the Violence cookout on the 4th of July when Mr. Wingfield and his friends decided to fight a warring crew. Devon was an innocent bystander who was caught in the crossfire. When you made the choice to release Mr. Wingfield, you knew these following facts. And I find it so interesting. So many of you have talked about, having the facts, acting on the facts, and the importance of that to the judiciary. And I appreciate that you've brought that forward. But Judge Edelman, here are the things that you knew. You knew that he had multiple arrests for illegally possessing a firearm, and you knew that he had been identified as the person who, on another occasion, had been shooting a gun in the street at 1 p.m. in broad daylight. You knew that only a week earlier, another judge had written an opinion denying his motion for release because he was a danger to the community. You knew that releasing him with a GPS ankle bracelet wouldn't protect the community because he had already illegally fired a gun while he was on GPS monitoring for a prior offense. Despite knowing all this, you released Mr. Wingfield with a GPS ankle bracelet, and then he and his friends went on to murder an innocent child who was at a July 4th Stop the Violence cookout. Your decision to release this criminal, given his dangerous record and record of noncompliance, was worse than reckless. So my question to you is, why did you do this?
So thank you, Senator, for allowing me to address this. I do recall virtually all the facts that you just went through. Mr. Wingfield came before me in May of 2020. It was a nonviolent charge, and he had no violent convictions in his record at all. I did release him, as you said, to home detention with electronic monitoring, and he was arrested I believe a couple months later in the incident that you've described, although as the investigation in that
The
case...
murder.
Yes, in the investigation into that murder proceeded, another individual was identified as the person who actually fired the shots that killed the victim. He pled guilty to that. Mr. Wingfield pleaded guilty. Mr. Wingfield was found to have not shot the victim or even fired a gun that evening. He pleaded guilty to a lesser charge for associating himself with the group and running down the street with them.
Judge,
I'm sorry.
violent crime is an issue, and you knew all of this about this man's past, and you did it anyway. And now Devon McNeil is dead, and you're wanting a promotion in the judiciary. I don't believe, from what I've read, that you have the judgment to be a federal judge, especially in a city like D.C., where we hear so much about violent crime. And I hope that you think about Devon McNeil and that family every single day, every single day. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will not be supporting Judge Edelman's nomination.
Senator Hirono?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I welcome all of the nominees and your families. Congratulations on your nominations. Just as I asked the initial questions of Judge Benjamin, who came before you, I will ask the following two questions, and we'll start with Judge Ballou and just go down the line. Since you became an adult, have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
No, Senator.
No, Senator.
No, Senator.
No, Senator.
No, Senator.
Have you ever faced discipline or entered into a settlement relating to this kind of conduct?
No, Senator.
No, Senator.
No, Senator.
No, Senator.
No, Senator.
I thank you for your responses to the chairman's open-ended questions, because I have little doubt that the people who come before you will be treated with respect, and that the proceedings will be fair and objective. As I mentioned, that is what I ask of a judge, that there be fair and objective, listen to the evidence, apply the law and precedent. I did want to get something clarified with you, Judge Joun. Are you an immigrant?
Senator, I am. I came here at the age of 5.
How old were you?
5.
5. So I share that experience with you, and I'm wondering whether your experience as an immigrant influenced your decisions to become a lawyer.
Thank you, Senator. Growing up, I didn't know there was a career such as the law.
Can you speak more closely into your mic, please?
Sure, thank you. Growing up, I didn't know that there was a career in the law, that there were people called lawyers. Earlier, there was a question to Judge Benjamin about speaking to the courts, to the community. I remember that's how I learned about being a lawyer in the 7th grade. And when I learned that people like me, who are poor, who don't have status in society, that the lowest rungs are equal, at least in the eyes of the law, as everyone else in this country. And that inspired me to go into the law.
I would say that for those of us who have that kind of an experience, have a particular kind of I won't call it a calling, but a desire to provide opportunities for other people who may share the kind of experiences that you and I had growing up. I would like to ask a general question for each of you, that what prompted you to become lawyers? And we have your answer, Judge Joun, but we'll start with Judge Joun. Ballou.
Thank you, Senator. I grew up in a household in which my father was a lawyer, and he became a judge, and I watched him go to work every single day, coming home, seeking to strive to do justice. It inspired me when I went into college, and I followed that path. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator, for your question. I looked to law school as a way where I could gain a degree and some skills that would allow me to help people. And before becoming a judge, I always had jobs in which I helped individual clients. And that was a very rewarding experience for me, but that's what attracted me to a career in the law.
Thank you, Senator. I am the first and only lawyer in my family, so far at least. But as I noted in my opening, my parents committed their entire careers to serving the community as teachers and as administrators, and emphasized the importance of service in our home. So when I began to think about what would challenge me intellectually and ways in which I could serve the community, the law was a natural fit, and that has proven to be the case.
Thank you, Senator. My family is of public service. I have a family of teachers, nurses, firemen, and I did not have anyone in my family that was an attorney. But I would be remiss not to mention Jim Brumman today. It is his birthday. He is no longer with us, but I actually went with him to take your daughter to work day, as he was the only attorney that I knew, and he was a softball coach of mine. And he introduced me to the law and was able to help me throughout high school to obtain a job as a runner at a law firm. And I stuck with my passion for helping others and serving my community as a lawyer and now a judge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I just wanted to note, Mr. Chairman, that there are two people on the panel who have Georgetown roots. So that's our alma mater for both the chairman and me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Senator Hirono. Judge Edelman, I want the record to be complete before the committee. And Judge Senator Blackburn said some things about a case that you were involved in. I want to give you an opportunity to explain your point of view on that case and how you ruled.
So thank you for allowing me to further clarify that. So again, it was a case that came before me on a bond review motion, one of many hearings I had that day. I considered all of the factors under our bond review statute. As I mentioned before, prominent among them was the fact that he was not charged with a violent offense, nor did he have any history of violence in his background, not even any violent misdemeanors. In addition, I considered the fact that the Pretrial Services Agency had screened him and deemed him eligible for home detention with electronic monitoring. And finally, I considered the circumstances that were going on at the time, which was May of 2020. At that time, our correctional facilities in St. Elizabeth's, which is our secure psychiatric facility, were having a really difficult time controlling coronavirus. Cases were mounting. We had death and serious disease among both inmates and staff at all of those facilities. And Mr. Wingfield was someone who was, as a result of his health, deemed vulnerable to COVID-19. He had asthma, he had a heart condition, and he had a nervous system disorder caused, I think, by a spinal cord injury. So it was looking at all those factors, his nonviolence, his eligibility for home detention, and his health circumstances that led me to make that decision.
Thank you very much. I want to thank everybody here on the second panel and tell you there's still maybe another step in the process. Questions for the record will be due to be delivered to nominees by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, November 22nd, and the record of this hearing will remain open until we receive your response, which we hope will be timely. Thank you all, and particularly thank your family and friends for coming in support of your nominations today. Thank you for joining us in the Senate Judiciary Committee.